Hello and welcome to another episode of Carnivore Revolution. Mark Ennis and I are your hosts. I'm Victoria Olson, and we're here today to discuss some issues as they pertain to the carnivore diet. We're going to talk today about calories, supplements, and training as a carnivore. So hello, Mark. How are you doing today?
Hi, Victoria. I'm very, very well. How are you keeping? Haven't
Oh,
heard
very
from you in a
well.
while. Are
Thank
you
you.
well? We haven't done this ourselves now in a while. How are you keeping?
No, I like this. I like these shows talking about these topics. I think it's very informative. So,
Amazing.
I understand that you have been looking at a new calorie model for carnivores. Could you explain to us what that's about?
Yeah, so I don't focus t too much on calories. I focus on macros. So a lot of people that come to me are looking to get in shape. And I find that in the carnivore space, regardless if you're eating over your, let's just say we are focusing on calories. If you're eating over your caloric intake, you will gain weight. Okay, it
Right.
doesn't make a difference whether you're if you say to someone, okay, eat like say, I don't know, 300 grams of fats or whatever. If you're coming from the standard American diet where your food is very, very high, and you're convincing someone, okay, you're going from one high diet to another high diet, at the very, very beginning, yes, your body's going to heal, but at some point, your body's going to stop and it's going to be like, okay, I'm healing, but I'm not losing any weight anymore. So this is where we have to focus on, okay, now we need to track. In order for you to keep on getting consistent at your results, then we need to track. Because I see this all the time with women. They lose the weight at the very, very beginning, and then about 6 weeks later, everything just stops. They're not losing weight anymore.
Mm,
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
how I do it at the very, very beginning is what how a lot of people in the space do. They'll take somebody on, they'll focus on healing the body. I don't track anything at the very, very beginning. I just say, listen, eat as much of the same food, as much as you like, butter, steak, ground beef, eat as much as you like. Because at this stage, we're just healing the body. Then after 6 weeks, once the body's fully healed and they become fat adaptive, and they no longer have those cravings anymore, no longer have those gut issues, their brain fog is good, they're not thinking about food anymore. That's when I'm like, okay, now we need to move into the weight loss phase. So this is where I'll track their macros. I'll give them a set of macros at this stage. Let's say they're 300 pounds. So I'll go from a 1-to-1 ratio. So 300 grams of protein and 300 grams of fat. That's a good starting point. Now, if they're losing weight, then that's the sweet spot. That's exactly where I want them. If they're struggling, and let's say we're 4 weeks into the diet and nothing is moving, nothing, then that's when I need to titrate the macros. Now, firstly, if they're obese, like really, really obese, I'm gonna bring the fat down because they don't need too much fat because their protein intake is exactly what's needed for their body weight. Or what I'll do is in most cases, especially for women, I'll bring the protein numbers down and I'll keep the fats high. The reason why I want to keep the fats high for women is basically for hormone function. Women's hormones are a little bit more complicated and they do a lot better on higher fat. But if you're carrying a lot of excess body fats, then your requirement of a lot of fat is not really needed because you can actually tap into your own body fat. So you don't need that much fat. So you'll actually be okay on a high protein diet. So this is where I'll introduce maybe 2 or 3 days of a high protein modified fast. So this is where I'll back off in the fats. I won't get them eating any fat whatsoever. It'll be like very, very high protein, extremely high protein, and this will tap into the body fat very, very quickly, and they will drop that body fat. So you're going to see even a massive reduction in water weight. They're going to lose weight so much quicker. I've had females that would lose when they get stuck, and we use this method. Within a week, they drop 10 pounds, 10 or 12 pounds. It's a huge drop.
Wow.
So it comes down to the individual. So that's where I enjoy the healing process of the carnivore diet, but I work with an awful lot of women that want to get in shape. They come to me for the first point is that I want to get in shape, and I'm like, okay, I'll get you in shape, but I need you to heal first. But once we heal, then I'm going to get you into that weight loss phase. But See, the reason why I want to get the women healed first is because I want to get them away from that diet mentality. So
Yeah.
once they fully heal, I can throw whatever I want at these women and they'll be fine because they're not looking at it as a diet anymore. Things are going to get
Hmm.
so much easier from here on in. So when I titrate the macros and bring the macros down a small bit, it's not like a shock to the system. Like you go on the standard diet, okay, I'm going to have to drop in your calories. And it's like, oh, I don't want you to drop my calories because I'm going to get hungry. When I drop the food down, when these people are fully healed, they don't even notice it.
Yeah.
They don't even notice it. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
no problem. I can drop this down a small bit. And when I'm titrating the food, I'm talking about small amounts. Like I'm talking about roughly around 10 or 15 grams, maybe 20 grams a week. It's not a massive drop.
Well, I have some questions for you. First off, I want to clarify for people who are listening who are not familiar with macros and the carnivore diet that when you say grams, you're referring to the content of what people are eating, not the weight, the
Exactly.
fat content and the meat content.
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to know what you say when they get to that point, they don't notice the titration going down. Are you aware of fat adaptation? Do you incorporate that as a concept in your educating of your clients?
What do you mean by fat adaptation?
Well, that's a term that's used in the carnivore and keto diet arena. It means that your body has become used to using fat to make ketones to give you
Yeah.
energy.
Oh
And
yeah,
at
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
point in time, when you convert from all your glycogen that has been stored up has been used up, and now your body's converted to using the fat for ketones for energy.
100%. Yeah, that's what we do at the very, very beginning. At the very, very beginning, we're just focusing on healing the body, turn your body into a fat burning machine. That's what we want. We don't want to
Hmm.
be in a sugar burning machine anymore. We want to be in a fat burning machine. So we're getting the body fully healed, and then once we get past that, things get so much easier, so much easier.
Good, good. One more thing. Um, I know you're aware of gluconeogenesis. How does that fit into your program? And do you ever see that that might have taken effect in someone who's higher in protein and lower in fat?
No, it all depends on when you say high protein. Like I would never have anybody on. Let's say we go back to again 300-pound person. I would never have a person on, say, double that amount. So I would never have them on, like, say, 600 grams. So if we're breaking it down into macros, I would look at it, say, 1 gram per pound of body weight. So
Hmm.
that'll come out to like 300 grams of protein. Now I probably it depends on the individual. I find that when you're trying to lose weight, you can play around with the protein or you can play around with the fats. So
Hmm.
I can bring the protein down if it suits the individual. So if the individual is okay and I can bring the protein down and just steady amounts and the fats are okay and they're still losing weight, well, I'll keep it that way. But because you have to remember this, when people are trying to drop body fat and they get very, very low in body fat, the last thing we're trying to do when we're in that state is trying to build muscle. We're just trying to take off as much body fat as possible. Now, when we flip it around, when these people do become very, very lean, like very, very lean, that's when I'll flip the macros around. I'll start increasing the protein again because at that stage we're trying to build muscle. But
Hmm.
when we're trying to strip body fat, we can actually play around with the protein. We don't need that much. But what I want to keep in there all the time, depending on the individual, is I want to make sure the fats are just slightly higher than the protein, slightly higher, because if the fats go down too low, it's going to affect your energy. And we know there's only two energy sources. We can only rely on fat and we can only rely on carbohydrate. They're the two main
Hmm.
energy sources. We can't rely on protein as an energy source. Okay, now when we look at gluconeogenesis, that yeah, your body can produce sugar from protein. Yes, it can, but we don't need to eat too much of it. Okay, that's where it comes down to. You need to find out the balance for the individual,
Yeah,
and
my understanding.
that's what it comes down to. It just comes down to, are you getting the results on a week to week basis? Are you losing the weight? If you're not losing the weight, there's something wrong. Either I have to titrate the protein or I need to titrate the fats. And
Hmm.
then once I find the right balance, to that person, and I can see the weight coming down. I can see the number on the scales coming down. I know the weight on the scales is not is not a true indicator. I'll just mainly look at photographs, but it does help when you see the weight coming down. You know, okay, we've hit something here.
Mhm.
We're on the right track. But if something stalls, that's where I need to make the decision. Okay, nothing's moving here. We're only playing with protein and fats here. So I need to work out something from here.
So, two things. The Your carbohydrate volume in your macro is negligible. It's whatever
Mm-hmm.
you might get from an egg. There's virtually no carbohydrates in this program, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no carbohydrates at all. Don't have anybody on. We're gonna get all our glucose and all our energy coming from fats and protein.
Good. And what do you do for a maintenance plan to maintain weight?
It's Okay, so if you're looking to maintain the same thing, we're going to start off with a 1-to-1 ratio. So let's say if someone's 160 pounds and they want to maintain their weight, that's where we'll start. It'll be 160 protein, 160 fat. And again, it's
Mhm.
just a matter of just looking at the pictures every couple of weeks. And if they're gaining weight, well then maybe those macros are too high. We probably need to bring them down a small bit. If
Um,
someone does come to me and says like I want to gain weight, like I have a few people that are extremely skinny and they come from the diet culture and they're absolutely convinced that they just need to lose more weight. But these people haven't got any weight in them at all. So what I usually do, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the reverse diet, but what I usually do is I put them on a reverse diet at the very beginning. So this is basically the opposite of dieting. This is when we're actually going to increase the food. Whereas when you're in a diet phase, you're actually restricting the food. So when they come to me and they're like, okay, I want to get in shape, but I look at their pictures and they're extremely skinny, we need to go straight into the reverse diet. I'm not going to get these people to lose any more weight.
yeah. What do you do when people who've been on the carnivore regime for a while say that their hunger is very low and they can't reach the goals that you've set for them? What
So
happens
the,
then?
so if their hunger is low, then we just need to increase the food. That's all we need to do. But I would make sure, okay, what are you doing outside of that? Are you doing a lot of cardio? Are you walking much? Are you stressed? What's your lifestyle like? Are you working on a building site? Because you have to remember, if you're on your feet all day, or if you're working on a building site, you're using up a lot of energy. You're using up a lot of energy, so that's going to ramp up your appetite.
Mhm.
If you do a lot of cardio, that's going to ramp up your appetite. So if you have a busy job and your energy levels are very high, then you need to adapt to that. So
Mhm.
you need to prioritize the foods to compensate with that. So you may need to give these people more food in order for them to keep on progressing. If you take food away from these people, then you're going to mess them up big time, and they're going to get back to you. They're going to be saying, "Mark, I'm starving. I can't stick this." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what am I doing wrong, or what are you doing wrong?" So maybe the information that they gave me at the very beginning was wrong. They probably said to me, like, well, I don't do too much cardio. My job is not stressful. I'm not on my feet all day. And then I'm like, okay, well, there's something going wrong here. It's either you making the mistake or I'm making the mistake. So at this point, I need to look back at the charts and say, well, now hang on a second. Her macros are perfect. Our training is perfect. So something doesn't add up here. And then eventually they'll get back to me and saying, well, I did the cardio last week. I'm doing more steps. My steps are around 10,000 a day. I'm very active. Like my job is very active. I'm on my feet all day. So when you add it all up, you're probably getting around 25,000 steps a day. So
Mhm. Wow.
that's going to use up a lot of energy. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're going to be ravenous. You're going to be
Mhm.
absolutely ravenous. So you're going to be starving.
Mhm. Got it.
So I'm not saying that energy output is what we need to be looking at when we're in a deficit or whether we're trying to gain weight. I'm just saying that if your energy output is high, you need to compensate that with more food. If you take food away from the body, this is actually going to mess things up going forward.
Well, I like that, making people aware of food as a supply of energy and not entertainment.
Exactly.
A
Yeah.
big sea change for a lot of people when they
Yeah.
don't. They need to start listening to their body
Yeah.
and providing it what it's asking for.
Absolutely. Because people think they need to do more when they want to get in shape. They think they need to do more cardio,
Hmm.
more steps. They need to go to the gym regularly. But none of the females that I work with do any of that. They actually train less.
Really?
They train less. They go to the gym 3 days a week. They
Hmm.
walk twice a day, and they're in incredible shape. Incredible shape. And it all comes down to what you're putting in your body. You just need to give your body the nutrition it needs. Okay, make sure your training is a couple of days a week. Add a couple of days of strength training in. Walk every single day, and you'll be fine. You'll be in the best shape of your life. You don't need to go to the gym and kill yourself in order to get in shape. And this is what we're all seeing at the moment. Everybody's convinced that you need to do these spinning classes, these circuit classes, and burn like this
Hmm.
amount of calories and restrict yourself. This all leads to restriction, and eventually you're going to quit. You're going to give up on yourself. And this is what it all comes down to. We need to move away from this. You just need to feed your body the right nutrition, because when you think about it, when you look at our ancestors, they never did long amounts of cardio ever. When they went out to catch their prey, it was like one job. They went after. They sprinted. They slowed down. They sprinted. They slowed down.
Yes.
We've
Mhm.
lost that. Most people don't do that
Yeah.
anymore.
And we have a whole artificial system is our approach now because we think we know what to do.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's
and
not the
it's
same as our ancestors.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's in our face at the moment. I mean, we only spoke about this the other day. How many people actually do body weight workouts at the moment?
Not many, but they should, and there's some good ones out there.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
if you can't lift your own body weight, you've got to think about it as
yes,
well. If you're in a survival situation and you cannot lift your own body weight, you're in trouble. If you're
that's a
hanging off, if you're
yeah.
if you're hanging off, if you're hanging off a bridge and you've got the only thing you can do is pull yourself up, and you can't do that, you're gonna fall. That's it.
That's excellent. That's an excellent goal for people to have. I really believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned the word nutrition, and it reminded me. I'd like to talk about supplements today. I know carnivores. There's the classic view of carnivores where you don't need any supplements. Meat is everything. It provides you with everything you need, including vitamin C.
Mm,
And I wanted to hear your take on that because as a carnivore in my seventh year, I've started taking some supplements. Some of them are for vanity, like the collagen, which I take, which is it
mm,
promotes hair and nail growth. And now I have a whole bunch of fingernails there that I never used to have.
mm.
But the diet does provide collagen. What do you think about taking vitamins and what vitamins do you recommend?
Well, the vitamins that I recommend people take is a good vitamin D3, and the reason for that is like in my country we don't get a lot of sunshine, and we only get like say maybe 4 weeks out of the year of good sunshine. So I think a good vitamin D is extremely important for hormone production, for testosterone, for things like that. So I think vitamin D is extremely important. I think vitamin K can help as well, like if you put the two of them together.
Yeah,
And then pretty much that's the only one I would have people on. Now, if you're struggling with sleep or digestive issues, then we can introduce magnesium, because magnesium has been proven many times that it can help. But I would always look at the lifestyle and the diet first. That's what I would look at. And then the likes of vitamin C, I think if you're carnivore, your requirement of vitamin C is you don't need that much at all.
reduced. Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
because
I
it
don't
can.
think you need that much at all.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's just my opinion. I don't take any vitamin C. Now I know there's a lot of people out there that will say that supplement on vitamin C on a carnivore diet there's no harm, but I haven't done it on myself yet. I haven't had any scurvy. I don't have any issues. Um, so I don't know. But I don't. That's just me. What about yourself?
Well, like I said, I take a list of them. The D3 and the K2 are something that became of interest to me because being older, I'm going to be
Mm,
74 this year. Uh, I was concerned about my arteries. I
mm,
have had the CAC scan, and gotten zero score that there's no hard calcium blockage, but there could be soft tissue blockage and that's a whole different scan, and I've not had that. I think that just what is it? Good luck. I'm taking the D3 and the K2, and there's a physician who's worked out what dosages are ideal for that, and he says that the K2 is 500
Mm-hmm.
micrograms,
Mm-hmm.
and the D3 is 400 milligrams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think you do a little more vitamin 3, D3, don't you?
Yeah, so I do at the moment currently I'm doing about 10,000 IU daily.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an
That's
awful lot. That's a lot. The recommendation in this country is only 2,000 IU of vitamin D3 daily. But I find that my testosterone levels are way better when my vitamin D3 levels are high. Now, when I combine that with a high fat diet, bingo, my testosterone goes through
yes,
the roof. Through the
good.
roof.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is where I see at the moment with people, especially when you're on the standard European diet or the standard American diet, that you're not going to get the benefits from vitamin D3 if you're on like a shitty diet. I think you need to have fat
Mm-hmm.
in your diet. I think that's the only reason it's going to work. Now, again, we don't get too much sunshine in this country. So in order for me to keep my skin feeling good, my nails, my hair, my body just feeling good, I just went against the research and I said, right, I'm actually going to test this out myself. So I've been taking now vitamin D3 now, big amounts for just over 2.5 years, nearly 3 years now. I've had
Mm-hmm.
no issues whatsoever. And I've seen a huge increase in my testosterone levels. Huge. Like I'm in my 50s at the moment. My testosterone should be decreasing at my age. My testosterone levels are the same pretty much as a 21-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're doubling, they're tripling at the moment. And when I see what's going on in the world at the moment with men and their testosterone levels are dropping, I'm seeing men that are younger than me in their 40s going on TRT
Yeah.
because they're not being told what to do. They're not eating the high fat. They're not eating the red meat. They're being told to stay away from saturated fats. Their vitamin D
Mm-hmm.
levels are probably too low. They're probably only taking in 1,000 gram or 1,000 IU daily. So before, so my argument is this: I'm not saying that TRT is bad. I know a few people in the carnivore space that are on TRT, and my views on it is like this. I believe you can increase your testosterone to lifestyle alone. And the only way you're going to do that is just by just testing this stuff out for yourself. And if you're increasing your vitamin D and you're increasing your fats and everything is moving in the right direction, well, I believe your requirement of TRT is zero.
How about your female clients? I know you're probably recommending D3 to them too.
Yeah, yeah, and I would never say to a female that if you're on HRT, come off it. Never. I think there's actually I think HRT can be beneficial for
Mm-hmm.
someone. Not all women. I'm not saying all women, but for the majority of women, the HRT can be very, very beneficial for women. But I still believe that women should be on a high fat diet. Again, depending on the person, they should be on very, very high fat because women's hormones are a lot complicated to men's. So again, if someone wants to come to me and lose weight, then yeah, we're going to focus on the healing process at the very, very beginning, and then we're going to titrate those macros to get you in shape. But I'm always going to have those fats just slightly higher than protein, slightly higher, not too high, but just slightly higher.
What's your take on iodine? We know Dr. Berry interviewed Dr. David Brownstein a little over a year ago, and Brownstein's recommendation is that we just simply, as humans, don't get sufficient iodine, and
Mm-hmm.
he recommended 25 milligrams a day. Now, since about that time, going on 2 years, I've been taking it, and I
Yep.
didn't notice the lack of it before, but I feel fine now. I know that a deficiency would show up as brittle nails, which I used to have, but I'm taking the collagen for it,
Mm-hmm.
and dry hair that falls out and fatigue. What's your take on the iodine thing that
I
carnivores are looking into?
yeah, I'm the same. Like I think iodine is an amazing amazing supplement, especially when you're going through PCOS,
Mm,
endometriosis,
mhm.
fibromyalgia. I've seen menopause also. Iodine is absolutely amazing. But again, it depends on the person. It absolutely
Yes.
depends on the person. Like not everybody can take it, but yeah, I've seen huge
Mhm.
improvements in female health taking
Mhm.
iodine.
Some people with thyroid issues, whether it's hyper or hypo, need to be very careful with that when they look
Yeah,
at that, and to consult with the physician, especially if they're on some kind of medication.
yeah.
I personally know our co administrator in the Facebook group has a thyroid issue and was on this synthetic um, Synthroid,
Mm,
Lavoxothyroid.
mm,
I don't know the name. And she was taking just half of that dosage of 25 milligram, I think, and
mm.
her iodine rating went through the roof because her
Yeah,
body couldn't really handle it because I think she may have had a part of her thyroid removed, not certain.
yeah.
But yeah, so please be careful if you do that. Don't just self-medicate. Consult a physician if you
Yeah,
have,
and
you know you have a thyroid issue.
I think the dosage, like you mentioned, Victoria, I think that's a perfect starting point. Between 25 and 30 grams is enough. You don't need any more than that.
Well, supposedly your body excretes the excess, but
Yeah,
it won't if your thyroid's malfunctioning.
exactly.
So, yeah, so make sure that you're good with that. Are there any
I
other
I,
vitamins you can
I
think of?
think I think you mentioned collagen. Now, collagen's
Yeah.
amazing, but I
Mm-hmm.
find that you can get all the collagen you need in the fats on the meat, and
Yes.
you can
Yes.
also
With the
get this. You
connective
can also
tissue.
get this. You can also get this through bone broth as well. So
Yes. Good source of information.
I'm not saying that there's not a need for collagen supplements. I'm just saying you can do this in a natural way, and that's true in animal-based diet.
Exactly true. Exactly true. And see, I don't go to the effort of making that bone broth. So my substitute for that is the collagen. And the other thing I substitute with is something that's quite unusual. I take a pure EPA
Mm,
omega-3 fish oil.
mm,
And I'd read about that lowering triglycerides. Around the world, they prescribe a EPA, a pure EPA, medically. It's a prescription drug called Vascepa, or
mm,
and some similar name in other countries other than the United States. And
mm,
it's a very high dosage, and again, it's a synthetic. And it's to lower triglycerides. There are people who
mm,
have tremendously high triglycerides in the
mm,
thousand numbers. And
mm.
mine was up around 150, and I started taking it, and it took about 3, 4 months, and it went down to 60. So
Amazing.
it virtually cut my triglycerides in half.
Mm.
And usually
But, so-
people take a fish oil.
but sorry
Sorry.
for interrupting. Sorry for interrupting you. Was that down to the fish oil, or was that just down that you just transitioned your diet?
No, I had been carnivore for a few years when I started
Okay.
taking it, at least 4
Okay.
years. And
Okay.
so it's relatively recently, in the last 3 years. But many people take a fish oil that is a combination of the omega 3s, EPA and DHA. And
Mm,
the synthetic DHA tends to cancel out the functionality of the EPA. So that's why they isolated the EPA to give as a
okay. Yeah.
prescription drug.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're taking a combination of the two, it may not work as well. We do get a lot of DHA in our diet. They say we don't get enough, but most of the omega-3 that we do get in the carnivore diet is
Yeah.
DHA related.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
plentiful in what we eat. But the
Mm,
EPA is kind of on the shortfall. And that's why I've found success with it. My husband too. Same thing happened to him.
yeah.
Virtually
Yeah.
cut his triglycerides in half, and
Okay.
it's a 2,000 milligrams a day is a maintenance dosage we take. 4,000 was for if you have a very high triglyceride
Mm,
count. But
mm,
naturally, our our lipid panel will improve as carnivores. That will happen
mm.
naturally.
Yeah.
Everything
100%. Yeah.
that will come down.
Everything will just fall into place very quickly.
Yes. Mhm. So I think we wanted to also talk about carbohydrates and training. We know that's a very popular idea to carb load when you're an athlete or a bodybuilder, weightlifter. Can you give me your opinion on carbohydrates in training? How necessary are they or not?
Okay, so I did this for a very, very long time. Okay, I've been in the fitness game for well over 30 years now. And I've done it all. I used to have carbohydrates before my training. I used to do the carb backloading where I train. And then at the end, the later part of the day, I had my carbohydrates. I did it all. I was convinced that you had to have this peri-nutrition, that you had to have carbs before your workout, during your workout, and you had to have carbs after your workout because it's going to improve muscle size, you're going to gain size. I was a rugby player I played rugby at a good level when I was 18 years of age. And most of my diet was like heavily carbohydrate based. So I was eating around maybe 60% of my overall food intake come from carbohydrates. And I did grow, I gained a lot of mass, but I also gained a lot of body fat, like a lot of body fat.
Mm.
Now, this is the argument right here. Will carbohydrates improve your performance? Maybe, maybe. But I believe because I've been fat adapted now for the last 4 years, I have seen no change in my performance in the gym. None. My muscles are actually getting bigger. There's this myth that if you don't eat carbohydrates, you're going to lose size in your muscles. You're going to lose all the glycogen in your muscle. You will at the very, very beginning, but once your body becomes adapted to fats, then you're going to restore all that glycogen very, very quickly. I think people don't understand that, like I mentioned at the very, very beginning, your body can rely on two fuel sources, not just one. You can rely on carbohydrates and you can rely on fats. Now, the difference is this, we know this. One is essential and the other one isn't. The one causes problems like inflammation. People don't know this. This is going to come from carbohydrates. So when you're in the gym, you're training really, really hard, and your recovery is not the best, and you notice, okay, I'm getting these DOMS pain, I'm getting these arthritis pains, I'm not recovering well. This is inflammation. Now, I go to the gym 3 days a week at the moment. I can easily go to the gym every single day if I want to because I don't have those pains anymore. Now, I train really, really intense, like really, really intense. If I had carbohydrates before my training, I can tell you right now, I wouldn't be able to train the next day because I'd feel the pain. I'd feel those DOMS pain. I'd feel all the inflammation. Now, for me, when I used to eat carbohydrates before I trained, I was always tired. Before I even got inside the gym, I felt like I need to nap. I feel like I need to nap here. I didn't feel like, oh, I'm ready to train. I'm ready to go. I was like, no, I feel like I need to nap. And it's the same when I used to
Mm.
have my carbohydrates after my workouts. The first thing I wanted to do after my workout was, and especially after having my bowl of oats, was okay, I'm ready to have a nap now. Now I don't have those anymore. I don't have these mid-afternoon naps anymore. So people are absolutely convinced that your body needs carbohydrates as the main energy source. But if you look at what's going on in gyms at the moment, I don't know what's like in your country, Victoria, but in my country, every morning when I go to the gym, everybody is having these Lucozade bottles, these energy drinks. They're having these bananas. Now, if carbohydrates are your main energy source, then why are you relying on these energy drinks during your workout? Why do you feel like you need to have fruit straight away
Yeah,
after workouts? I
good
work out at
point.
five. I work out at 5 a.m. every morning, or 3 days a week. I don't have my first meal until around 12 o'clock. Now I'm up, like I mentioned earlier, I'm up around 3:30, 4 o'clock every day. I'm going 8 hours without any food, no food whatsoever.
Hmm.
My last meal was 7 o'clock the previous day, and I had a good amount of fat in that meal. Those fats that I had the previous day are keeping me going. I'm not
Hmm.
hungry. I've no energy crashes. I'm not thinking about food. My energy levels are good. The only thing I need to do is stay hydrated. Now, if I want to get an extra pump in the gym, what do I need to do? I'll add in some sodium into my water, a little bit of salt. That gives me
Really?
all. That's all I need. Or maybe I'll a little bit of creatine, very little on the odd occasion. But if I want to get a
Uh-huh.
pump in the gym, I'll just increase the sodium. That's all I need. I don't rely on pre-workouts. I don't rely on caffeine. The reason why I gave caffeine up a long, long time ago is because it was robbing me of my natural energy. I felt that when I was relying on caffeine, it was giving me an energy boost, but I wasn't relying on my own natural energy coming from fats. I wanted to be deep into ketosis, be highly fat adapted. I wake up now and I feel great. I'm ready to go to the gym. I just need to hydrate, have a pint of water, and I'm ready to go to the gym. And that's another thing I've noticed as well. Since I've become fat adapted, I don't drink that much water during my workouts either.
Yes, yes, I've got the same experience, and I'm the same way. I can go through the whole day. I'm
Yeah,
not that hungry. I have to remind myself to eat. It's time to get some
yeah,
energy in. And I wanted to ask you, didn't you once do some competitive bodybuilding, and were you a carnivore at the time? What was your
yeah.
experience with that?
Yeah, so I always said to myself I would love to do a bodybuilding competition, but I would never do it on the standard European diet because I always had a fast metabolism. I was always hungry, and I knew that I would struggle. So I said no, it's not for me. But when I came into this space and I seen within a couple of weeks how powerful it controls your hunger, I was like, hang on a second, I could probably do a bodybuilding competition doing this. So I done a bit of research, and I said, right, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it in a different country. I'm going to do it in a completely different country, and I'm going to go up against like top athletes that are enhanced, and I want to see how well I can do. So for 6 months, I researched it. I said, right, okay, what's the difference between carbohydrates as an energy source and fat as an energy source? And I did it all, and I said, right, I'm going to go full carnivore. And I did the whole prep for a year. I gained weight and then I lost the weight. I got really, really ripped. Now, when I mean really ripped, I was like 4% body fat. I had veins in my abs. I was
Wow.
very, very,
Yeah.
very lean. So I was 4% body. Now, 4% body fat is extremely dangerous, low
Yes.
amount of body fat. But my fats were very, very high. So if we're going
Mm-hmm.
by caloric intake, my fats at
Mm-hmm.
that time when I was like 6 weeks out from a show was around 80% coming from fat. Now, the reason why I was able to function amazingly well and I was able to talk to people and I was able to work on a daily basis and I had no issues, like my brain fog was perfect, is because my fat intake was very, very high. Now, when you think about it, when a bodybuilder goes on a deficit, what do they do? They decrease the energy source by decreasing the carbohydrates. So that
Mm-hmm.
they bring the carbohydrates down as low as zero. They're only relying on vegetables at this point. They're not even eating any fat whatsoever. So all they're doing is they're relying on protein and
Mm-hmm.
vegetables as an energy source. Now you can only imagine how these people feel. They feel like shit. Shit.
Mm.
You know, when I stepped on stage with these people, you could see that these people were ready to faint. They had no
Oh
energy
dear.
left. You know what I mean? Even though they were having carbohydrates every 2 hours in the back room before they stepped on stage because they had to refill. So every 2 hours they had to refill on carbohydrates. They had these coaches in the back room saying, okay, you need to have the rice cakes, the honey, the fruits, all this stuff. Um, because their body was in a starvation mode at that stage. Because they would have never been able to step on stage if they didn't have those if they weren't able to fill up those glycogen stores. They would have struggled. They would have struggled big time. When I stepped on stage, my last meal was around 9 hours before I stepped on stage. That was the previous day.
Really? Hmm.
That's I had a good amount of fat. I can't remember what I had. I think I had a keto brick. I think I made my own keto brick. And I had
Mm-hmm.
100. I melted 100 grams of beef tallow, and I
Mm-hmm.
melted it in like I think it was 10 grams of whey protein. That's all I had. That's
Mm-hmm.
all I had literally the day before. And before I stepped on
Wow.
stage, all I did was I put a little bit of salt on my finger, put it on my tongue, and I was able to pose no problems. I had no muscle
Wow.
cramps, nothing whatsoever. Guys that were standing beside me were getting all these muscle cramps.
Oh
Guys
dear.
beside me were getting all these sweats, like panic sweats. That
Mm-hmm.
you could see they were in severe pain, severe pain. And I was looking at these people and I was like, you're doing all of this, you're messing up your health just to win a trophy, just to
Yeah.
win a trophy. Now
Well,
I
they don't
competed,
view it that way. Yeah.
no, now I competed in
They
a
don't
strong
get it.
competition. No, of 25 individuals, that most of these people were enhanced, they were on TRT. These people were ripped to shreds, ripped to shreds. I was ripped myself. Out of 25 people, I came in the top three.
Really
Or the
wonderful.
top four,
Even
yeah,
so, fantastic.
yeah.
Excellent.
And I always said to myself, this is the first and only competition I will ever do because of that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is it's a great competition, but it's only a great competition if you do it for the right reasons. If you're
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing your health, if you're not prioritizing your health and you're only going into this competition and you're ruining your health just to win a trophy, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Wow. It's wonderful that you did it that way and won. That's great. That's just great.
And I proved the point that when it comes to the carbohydrate model and the fat model, that yes, you can rely on carbohydrates as an energy source, but those carbohydrates are going to run out very, very quickly,
Oh,
very,
yeah.
very quickly. Whereas when you become fat adapted, you can tap into your own body fat, and that will keep you going for ages. So
Excellent.
that's the
Yeah.
difference. So why do you think these marathon runners, when they go running, they have to suck on these gels every 30 minutes?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the
Because they burn it up, burn it up, burn it up.
they
And,
burn
and
it
that,
up.
that whole mindset is just so, I don't know, it seems against nature.
Yeah.
You want to carry your energy in your body.
Yeah. Yeah, you want you want your body just to tap into its own body fat. So
Mm-hmm.
when it gets into that panic mode, it's like, okay, we're okay here. There's no need to panic. We don't need to have
Mm-hmm.
any energy gels. We can actually tap into our own energy source.
Yeah, the ancient Greeks who invented the marathon, as far as we know in Western civilization, they didn't have to take gels and sweets while they ran. They just ran for
No,
miles without that
no.
because they ate a much cleaner diet and they certainly had the fats.
And see and this is the argument people will have with you, because you see this in hospitals. I've seen this all the time, that when people eventually faint in hospitals, it's like, okay, we have to give these people sugar to get them back.
Oh,
But
oh yeah,
the
that's
reason
the
when you
first thing they do.
yeah, but when you think about it, they give them sugar because their body's used to having sugar. Their
Hmm.
body's never been used to been relying on fat, because we're not educated that way. We're not trained that way.
Yes,
We're
yes.
trained to have sugar. So when you take sugar away from the body goes into this shock, and it's like, okay, well, I don't like this, so we have to bring the sugar back in. But that's because we're
Mhm.
used to that. We've never been adapted. We've never been in ketosis. We don't know what it feels like. So how do you
Since we were
know that
infants,
your
we
body
haven't been.
can't? Exactly. Yeah. So how do you know that we can't adapt to this lifestyle, and we can't adapt being on a high fat diet when you've never even tried it?
It's true, but we are here to change that paradigm because it works much better
100%.
our way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you mentioned to me earlier before we got on this podcast that, like, you're up very, very late. You're up very, very early. You don't need these mid afternoon naps. You're like, you're fine. Most people, they have to have like one or two naps in the afternoon, and that's
No,
something that
there's.
I've never had now in the last 4 years. I can't remember
Mhm.
the last time I've had a mid afternoon nap, and I used to rely on these naps often. I used to nap
Mhm.
pretty much
I
around
used
five
to
days a
too.
week.
Yeah, yeah, it's not necessary. I'm running all day like the Energizer rabbit, just going and going
Yeah,
and going.
yeah, that's great. And I mean, myself and yourself were only speaking about this as well. That we find now that time is so precious now. You just want to get stuff done. It's like an
Yes,
OCD in
exactly.
us. We're like, we just want to get up
Mhm.
and we just want to get stuff done. We're moving around. We're like the Energizer bunny. And it's like, okay, well, I've done this. Now I'll do this. Now I'll do this. Now I'll do this. It's like, I have so much energy and I want to use it all.
And the brain fog is gone. There's so much more
Yeah,
clarity there
yeah,
in our minds. Yes,
yeah.
that changes. That's a big change
And can we,
too.
Yeah, and can we touch a little bit on that as well? Because this is
Hmm.
another factor about glucose. People are convinced that you need carbohydrates. Your brain needs glucose. But people don't understand your body can produce glucose. We spoke about this at the
Oh,
beginning
yes.
with gluconeogenesis. Your body
Hmm.
can produce glucose from eating protein. So
Hmm.
yes, your body needs glucose, your brain needs glucose, but we don't need to get this from like outside sources. We don't need to get this from eating carbohydrates.
Absolutely. Absolutely true. I certainly find I haven't had carbohydrates since I can remember, and it's just not necessary. It's not there. That's the liver's job, is to make
No.
the glucose from what you've got, and it works fine for
Mhm.
me.
And when are we going to get to the stage when people start listening to the likes of you and me, people that have never touched the carbohydrate in 4 years, and we're functioning way better,
Yes, I
like
don't know
way
what it's
better.
going to take. A real desperation on some people's parts, but sometimes the desperation doesn't turn the switch. It doesn't. And I think that we just need to
Mhm.
keep making people aware that they don't need carbohydrates to exist and to function well.
But that's the reason why we do. That's the reason why we do these podcasts. It's just these podcasts are just about spreading awareness. At the end of the day, we're not forcing people to do anything. This is just
No,
advice. This is just
no,
information. This is what
we
we've
don't.
done. Um,
Yeah, we
we don't take supplements anymore. We do take a few supplements, but we don't rely on
a couple
supplements anymore. That's the problem.
just for yeah,
Yeah.
but we don't. We're not here to
Mhm.
sell you supplements. We're not here to sell you any kind of diet drinks or shakes or protein or whatever. It's really the diet. It's down to the diet.
Yeah. The diet's everything. You're going to get pretty much all the vitamins and minerals, everything you need, even creatine. Even though I mentioned creatine earlier on, you're still going to get creatine in eating red meats. So
Hmm.
you're going to get pretty much everything you need in an animal-based diet. The only thing you're not going to get in an animal-based diet, in my opinion, is vitamin D3. Vitamin D3. I think that's what you'll need. But everything else,
Hmm.
and magnesium probably. But other than that, you're getting pretty much everything you need. The same with vitamin C. You're going to get vitamin C in organs, in
Hmm.
animal organs. I'm not saying you should eat these
And
every
muscle
single
tissue
day of the
too. Yeah.
week. Yeah,
Hmm.
just eat a couple
No,
of them.
and
But I'm just saying
if you do,
you can get vitamin C.
yeah, I think that they don't want you to consume more than an ounce of liver a day, because what the
Mm,
nutrition in liver stores up in your body, the vitamin A and the iron, it it you
mm,
bank that stores up, and it takes about three
yeah,
days to use it up if you stop. So liver should
exactly.
not be consumed
Yeah,
in mass quantities at all if you do.
100%. 100%. Yeah, no. I think that's it now. Is that we covered everything?
Yes, yes, very well. Thank you. That's a great
I'll
session.
just add one more. I'll just add one more point about the calories because again, people are probably going to listen to this and they're probably going to say, well, you're always talking about calories. You don't believe in calories. Again, I don't believe in the calorie model. I believe in the macro model. I still believe in insulin. I still believe that when it comes to our food, the type of food that you eat is what's important. The insulin response that the food gives your body is very, very important. If you're eating too much sugar, you're not going to be allowed to switch off that hunger hormone. So insulin is going to be elevated, blood sugar is going to be elevated. So this is why I'm not a big fan of the word calories. So when you see something in a shop that says calories on it, that's where I'm coming from. I don't believe in that model. I think that's bullshit. I think it's never going to work. But I do believe in when we look at our food, it's okay to say it as macros because at the end of the day, protein is a macro, fat is a macro, and so is carbohydrates. But only two of them are essential: proteins and fats. We do not need carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are a non-essential macronutrient. So I am saying that when it comes to getting in shape, we should be tracking macros. But when it comes to the calorie model, I will always say we should be focusing more on our insulin levels, our blood sugars, in particular our hormones. That will always be the first priority. What is that food doing to your body? If it's having an impact on insulin and you're noticing things like hunger, your cravings are not being switched off, well then obviously the food that you're eating is not working and you need to introduce more food that's going to keep your leptin levels high because if you keep your leptin levels high, you're going to be able to control your hunger. And that's what we're seeing at the moment with these injections. They thought these experts thought they were magicians bringing out these injections because they thought that, okay, this is the only way to stimulate your appetite. But you can stimulate your appetite on an animal-based diet. The problem is nobody wants to do it because we've been brainwashed not to. That's the problem.
Unfortunately, true. Yeah.
That's it.
All right, then. Thank you. It was a wonderful, informative session. I really appreciate it. Okay.
No
You
problem,
take care
Victoria.
now.
Thanks for coming on, and we'll do it again very, very soon.
Yes, very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye now.